everybody, DeathsStalker here. So I thought I'd talk to you about my vehicle I got after I had basically used up my 1985 S10 Blazer. Now, I was using that as a race bike transportation vehicle, so for a while my bike was in the back and in pieces when I took it to the track, and then eventually I got a proper race trailer and towed it. But essentially in the early 1990s I more or less retired from racing, so that was done, and a few years later my Blazer had pretty much decided that it was coming to end of life. And it had been a good vehicle, but it got to be really expensive to keep on the road. You know, I had someone cut out in front of me one time, and I hit the brakes, and you know, I laid on the brakes really hard, and they went to the floor because I blew a brake line. So there's $1,000 for a complete brake job. And then of course the joints in the drive shaft had to be replaced, and then they found a couple seal leaks and whatnot, and again that ended up being like $1,000. So the truck was actually costing more, and I decided, well, it was time. But you know, I really like Blazers. You know, the S model Blazers were not as tall as the full-size ones. They were a lot easier on gas, and they're essentially sort of, they were a light truck, you know, and they actually had a lot of room. I had some friends who had cottages, so occasionally would go up to the cottages with them, and it was nice having my Blazer because I could put a crap load of stuff in the back of it. And so I thought, well, let's get the new S10. It's been 13 or 14 years. It's let's see how much they've improved it. And they actually had improved it. It actually looked a lot nicer. I had a friend of mine had a 4-door version of it. He originally had a 2-door, and he traded up to a 4 because you know, his kids got kids, so he had to have something that could take the grandkids around in. And everybody I talked to him said they were really nice. They didn't really have any problems with them, so I thought, okay, fine. The company I worked for had a deal with GM where we got discount pricing on buying new vehicles. So I had to go to our we actually had a person in charge of the company discounts, and I had to go see that person, and then he put my name on the list, and I got a form and whatnot to take to the GM dealership. And so I you know, thought, well, okay, I'll get a pretty good discount, you know, because the GM guys are able to drive these things all the time. I thought, oh, I'll be able to get a good price on one. Now keep in mind, back in '85 I paid $15,000 for a Blazer, and at the time I was making about, I'm gonna say about $39,000 a year. That was my salary back then. Now we're into 1999, and these Blazers are about $32,000, and I'm making $42,000 a year. So for starters, you notice right away that the wages haven't been keeping up with the prices. But I figured, hey, I'm getting a good discount from you know, our company discount program. So I go in and talk to a sales guy, and you know, talk to him about the car, and like, never met a guy who didn't really care if he made a sale or not until I met this guy. It was sort of like, yeah, whatever. And so I was asking him questions because my old Blazer was a 2-wheel drive, and I wanted the new one to be the same thing. Because the one thing I've learned from having 2-wheel versus 4 is that 4-wheel drive, the cost of maintenance is about triple. 4-wheel drive, all the suspension components, the brake components are heavier, and because of that extra weight, they also wear out faster. My cousin's always been a 4x4 guy, and he was going through probably twice as much, maybe 3 times as much cash as me, trying to keep his was Fords, but trying to keep his vehicles on the road. And my other brother-in-law actually had the same problem with his GM pickup trucks, because he was using 4x4s as well. So I thought, I want to get 2-wheel drive. You know, I'm looking for these specific options and whatnot. And the guy sort of went like, you know, you get this big book out and he goes, well, you know, here, you just flip through it and show me what you want. So basically, he wanted me to do his job for him. So I was a little bit put off by that. So then it's like, okay, let's go and picked up the price, the options I wanted, and I didn't want a lot. Now, the one thing about these trucks is that GM started putting a crap load of options on them. Like, there wasn't a lot of options, like 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, cloth interior, vinyl interior, you know, air conditioning or no air conditioning. Like, there wasn't, you know, paint jobs. Nowadays, it's like you can get all these auxiliary ports and whatnot, all this comfort stuff. And I wasn't really into that. I was just, give me a truck with 2-wheel drive and air conditioning and I'll be happy. Well, even with the discount, it was $27,000 before tax. That's like, I'm pretty certain I could have probably gone to a dealership and negotiated that kind of a discount. So, wasn't that impressive? It's like, so I got talking to the guy, says, okay, so if I want to order one, how long will it take? He says, oh, well, if you don't want one off the lot, it could take 3 or 4 months to get one ordered in. And it's like, what, things change? Because when I ordered my truck back in '85, it's I ordered it and I was told like 5 weeks and I could have it. And it actually showed up in about 3.5, and it was like, wow. So, wasn't happy, and I said, well, you know what, I'm going to think about it. And it's like, I talked to some other guys, and yeah, that particular dealership didn't have a great rep, so I went to a couple other ones, and like the discount was the discount. It was like, oh, that kind of sucks. So wasn't really a Ford guy, but I looked at the Fords and didn't like their stuff, and I looked at the other makers, and I thought, well, you know what, as much as I like the Blazer, maybe I could you know, go look at cars. So cars were pretty much the same way. It's like, if you weren't interested in making a deal right now, sorry, we're not really interested in selling you something, which I just found really bizarre. So I looked around, and I thought, I got talking to a guy, an old guy who worked at the company, and he was driving Volkswagens, and like the only Volkswagens I remember were the old Volkswagen Beetles, because I helped my buddy repair a bunch of them when we were in high school. And they were fun little cars, but never really thought of them seriously as a great car. But he said, yeah, go check out the Volkswagens. They're you know, they're a lot better made than they used to be, and they're really reliable and good on gas and yada yada yada. It's like, okay, fine. So I will continue this story shortly after filling it up. Okay. Continuation. So anyways. Alright, so let's continue on now that I've got petrol in this motorcycle. So anyways, I looked at a bunch of different cars. They had the Golf, the Jetta, the Passat, or as I call it, Pissant. And they had something called the New Beetle. Now, surprisingly, the New Beetle, which is pretty funny, is actually, there's one of them right in front of me. You know, I'm not using it for a vehicle for race transportation. I'm just using it basically to go back and forth to work when I can't ride a motorcycle. And as someone who freshly retired from racing, who was in still a lot of pain from all the crashes. My back was still completely messed up. The diagnostic of my left hip socket and 5 vertebrae damage were still about 7 years away. So I was in pretty much all back pain all the time. And the one reason I liked the Blazer was I could get in and out of it without hurting my back. And every other car I got into, I felt like I had to get on the floor and then climb back into it to get in. And that was not comfortable for me or my back. And they had the new Beetle there, and I went, okay, you know, I sat in it. It was like, wow, it's not bad. And the sales guy there was actually pretty good. He explained all the different settings and whatnot, and explained how to make the adjustments to the steering wheel and the seat. And this sort of stuff never existed in my Blazer. And it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. So I was thinking about it, and I thought I would, you know, check another dealer out to make sure it was, you know, I could maybe get a better price or a better selection. So I went to another dealer and walked in, and they absolutely ignored me. I was like shaking my head. I was like, you know what? Like, I walked in. Normally, when you go into a car dealership, you know, there's almost immediately, can I help you? You know, and if you say, you know, I'm just looking around, they'll just sort of like watch you from a distance, or, you know, say you just, you know, try to, you know, get you to come and talk to them so they can try to sell your car, and they could care less. They were making coffee. So I thought, okay, well, I'll pop the trunk and I'll open the hood, and maybe then someone will come and talk to me. Nada. But okay, so the next day I was at work, and I was talking to the guy who apparently been driving Volkswagens for like 40 years, and he goes, oh, that place, that's where people buy their first Volkswagen, they never go back. And it's like, what? He says, yeah, here's the places you go. And the one place he suggested was the place I had gone to the first time. So I ended up going back and talking to the sales guy, and you know, and the guy was, okay, well, you know, let me see if I can get you a car. You know, because basically the package, they basically all showed up with the same, you know, air, cruise, tilt, all that sort of stuff. Like, unless you wanted something unusual, everybody had them. And so I started talking to him as well. He says, well, what are you looking for? He says, I told him I wanted a 5-speed and, you know, air and all that sort of stuff. And he says, okay, what color? And I said, okay, well, you know, I got the brochure. I said, dark blue, black, silver. Like, I gave him like 4 or 5 different colors, and I said, like, don't really care. The interior, gray, or that charcoal color, and I'm good. And he was like, okay, I'll see you. I should be able to get you one by next week at the latest. And I said, okay. So I get home, and like the next day I come home from work, says, okay, I've got one in. And it's like, holy crap, like, these guys really wanted to have your business. And it's like, cool. So I ended up buying a 2000 New Beetle. Well, not buying, actually I leased it. It actually worked out to be cheaper for me for what I was using it for. But a 2000 New Beetle black. I'll put a picture of it here. I probably don't have a picture of the car when I had it, because I don't take pictures of cars unless they're like really cool custom cars. And you know, I had that car for a 4-year lease, and you know, at first it was like, yeah, it's a car, but you know what? It actually had tons of headroom. We were surprised how much junk you could get into it if you went to the cottage and whatnot, because the seat folded down. And more importantly, the damn thing handled like a flipping go-kart. Like, you get in the corners and the twisties, and it handled really, really well for like a little bubble on wheels. So I actually really enjoyed it. And when the lease came up, I was, you know, looking to see what else I could get a better price. and I'll tell that story the next time. So anyways, hope you enjoyed it. DeathsStalker signing off.